Let's start from the two dots. Amr Yudam Rav, Haloch Reb Lezer. We rule like Reb Lezer. Rav says we rule like Reb Lezer. That means who's permitted to marry who? Vadei b'vadei, right? Only a person is a vadei mamzer can marry a vadei mamzer. But a sofek cannot marry a mamzer, and even a sofek cannot marry a sofek. That's Reb Lezer in the Mishnah. So Rav says we rule like Reb Lezer. First, it's a chiddush. Firstly, there are three opinions in the Mishnah. So normally we say, Yochav Rav Aloch the Rabbi. I mean, so seemingly Reb Lezer is what? Is the miut, right? He's not the Rabbi. Nevertheless, he says we rule like Reb Lezer. Ki Amrita Kami de Shmuel. So Rav Yehuda was a Talmud of Rav and Shmuel. So he says when I said over to Shmuel, Rav had said, Omali Hillel Shona Asari Yuchsin Olmi Bovel V'Kolom Mutarot Zebozeh. Hillel already had stated that the 10 classifications of different pedigrees, even the illegitimate, and every conceivable combination, they're all permitted to marry one another. And you're telling me we rule like Reb Lezer? That was Shmuel's reaction. So Shmuel says definitely we rule that a Sufik Mams can marry a Vadi Mamzer, and a Sufik can marry a Sufik. That's what he says. So he rejected it. What? The review is the Talmud. He's the Talmud. He's saying over Rabbi. So that was the whole question of what it was speaking about. Was it Kuhuna? Was it speaking? Okay, that was the conclusion of Gemara was. We wanted to say the argument was is a mamzer from Kores, from Mrs. Bezdin. Remember that was that. On that Gemara rejected it. We're talking about Yeramoni Moavi. Remember we spoke about that? When is a woman defiled? So it has to do with that. No, that's a different one. It's a different thing. But he's not referring to this Mishnah. He's referring to the Mishnah beginning of Asar Yuchsin. This Mishnah, that was the most question. It's redundant. This can mean what it meant before, because of what review done unless you write this Mishnah. The beginning of the Mishnah says the Asar Yuchsin. So that's what he's saying. The Mishnah, Reb Yehuda Nasi established the Mishnah that every Suffolk is permitted to marry a Vade. And they're permitted to marry one another. And you're telling me that we don't rule like the Mishnah? And you're accepting Reb Lezer's position? That's Shmuel's reaction in response to what he hears of Rab's Psak. Right. Correct. The Rami, the Rav, the Rav. But we have a steer in Rav. The Rami, the Shmuel, the Shmuel. So Rav is being Machmir, Shmuel is being Mekel. Correct? But we have a steer, of course. Rav says something else that seems to be his Mekel, that a Suffolk is permitted to marry a Vade. And Shmuel, who says now that a Suffolk is permitted to marry a Vade, he made another statement which indicates that a Suffolk cannot marry a Vade. So the question is, how do we reconcile it? The Rami, the Rav, the Rav. We have a contradiction. Rav versus another statement of Rav. Rami, the Shmuel, the Shmuel. The Itmar. What does it say? Arusa, she'ibro. A woman is not Rusa. She's a Nishis Ish. And she hasn't yet gone to Chuppah, and then she becomes pregnant. Now we have who impregnated her? Was it her husband, or was it a third party? That's the Shaila. Now, all people are Rosator. Anybody who has a relation with her, what did they create? A mamzer. The only, because she's a Nishis Ish, the only one who will not create the mamzer is only her husband. So, versus the individuals who could have engaged with her, the majority is mamzer. The minority is what? Is the husband. Okay? So what's the status of a child? Arusa Shibro. Rav Omer Havalad Mamzer. Rav says you treat the child like a mamzer. Yeah? But what is Rov? When does Rov rule? Just be left off with this yesterday. When does Rov rule? When you have a suffix, Rov rules. So basically, what is it? It's a suffix mamzer. Rov is a suffix mamzer. If it's a suffix, wait. But it's not absolute. It's still a suffix. It's still a suffix. What I explained yesterday. If it's permitted to a mamzer factually, that's a reality. This person here is really a suffix. And if he's a suffix, then the rove has no relevance. Right? Rove only has a relevance if it's something which is not resolvable. But if suffix mamzer is permitted to marry a mamzer, then rove doesn't rule. Right? You only implement these mechanisms, whether it's chazak or rove, if you need that to resolve the issue. But if a suffix is permitted, I don't need rove. And Rav says, despite that, right? Now, again, on a Torah level, how do we rule? Suffix is permitted on Torah level. There's all rabbinic stringencies we're talking over here. So if in reality, on a Torah level, a suffix is permitted to marry a mamzeres, that means rove is not implemented. Right? We don't use rove because it's not a suffix that has to be resolved. But yet Rav says rove allows the suffix mamzer to marry. But it's a suffix. In reality, it's a suffix. So how could Rav say that because regarding the arusa, the majority of people not permitted to her, with the mamzer that permits it, but factually it's still a suffix. It still may have been the husband. So evidently, so what do we see? Rav holds that suffix is permitted to marry a mamzer. It's a contradiction. Here he's ruling like Rebbe Lezer, and here he says practically it's permitted. This is lakula. That means even on a rabbinic level we're permitting this.
So what is a rove? Is a rove cancel out suffix? If you go for rove, it's not a suffix anymore.
Okay, let me explain. Over here, the rove is ruling lakula, not lakula. On the Torah level, would I use rove here? There's no place for rove here on the Torah level. Everybody agrees there's exersa because of mamzer vadim or mamzer suffix. Rebbe Lezer says it doesn't make a difference. Nevertheless, we only allow vadim, not suffix to vadim, right? But on the Torah level, Rebbe Lezer agrees. What is a suffix mamzer? Suffix mamzer is permitted to marry a mamzer. Except here, where she's narusa, rove treats her like says child. We treat him like a body mamzer. This rove is lakula. It's not lakula, right? But in reality, the Torah says suffix is permitted. So on a Torah level, do you need rove? Do you need rove over here? Does rove have any effect here? No. So if rove doesn't have any effect, so in reality, what is it? Still a suffix. So if it's still a suffix, rabbinically, it should not be permitted to the mamzer. So how does Rav say it is permitted to the mamzer? So evidently it must be that, because he holds, not like Rebbe Lezer, that a suffix is permitted even on a rabbinical level to the mamzer. Otherwise, Rav, you can't rely on rove. Shmuel Amar Havlat Shtuki. No. You treat the child like a shtuki, like a suffix. So if Rav is calling it mamzer, Rav says no, we treat him like a shtuki. I mean, he's questionable. That means it's questionable. He may be a kosher Jew. See, he may be a kosher Jew, which means we give value. It may be from the husband. We don't allow it. So if that's the case, this is the extreme opposite of what Shmuel originally said. That yes, it's a stira. So we have a contradiction in Rav, we have a contradiction in Shmuel. Howard, you with me on the question? Okay, good. Rav Omar Havlad Mamzer, Umuta B'Mamzeres, Shmuel Omar Havlad Shtuki, Basur B'Mamzeres. So how do we reconcile the statements? Epuch. So this is the easy one. You invert the opinions. So I shouldn't have a stira, meaning it's not being quoted properly. But if it's not being quoted, now we have a problem. So why did they make two statements? You know, understand? If I make a statement, I don't make the same statement twice because it's redundant. He gave two psukim, two rulings. A ruling, B ruling. But if A and B is the same ruling, what does he have to give B ruling if he already gave A ruling? So evidently, B ruling is not the same as A ruling. If I say Epuch, I have two cases. What are two cases? I have a case of Arusa, and I have a case of what? A Pnuya. Woman's a single woman, and she's found out to be pregnant. Now, I don't know who impregnated her. It may have been her brother, may have been a father. So there I have a role going the other way. The majority of people would not produce a mamzer. What? Would be okay. Reb Lezer holds. What would Reb Lezer hold there? Definitely not. Right? What? What would the status of that child be? No. Rabbinically, no, would not. Wait. Reb Lezer is machmir. That's a suffix. Still a suffix. Suffix. According to Reb Lezer, that's a suffix. Rabbinically, it's a suffix. It's a suffix. Of course, it's possible. It may have been a father, may have been a brother, right? Or maybe a mamzer, right? Even though the rov do not produce mam. That's the chumrah of Reb Lezer. Okay, so we'll see. But I'm saying, so we have two cases. We have a case of arusa and we have a case of penuya. So evidently, if you have to say it's either permitted in both cases or forbidden in both cases, evidently there's reason to say in each one of them to either be machmir to be mekel. So therefore, you had to give two separate rulings. You had to give a ruling on A and a ruling on B. Because if they're identical and there's no reason to differentiate, give one ruling, they're equally applicable to both. So evidently, there must be a reason that you could differentiate between the two cases, which the Gemara is going to explain now. So let's see. So what is it? Rabba Meshtuki. Rav is machli. He says, no, it's a shtuki. So if it's a suffix, that means it's possibly be a legitimate Jew. So if he may be a legitimate Jew, who's he marrying? He's marrying a mamzer. We don't allow that. Shmuel Amar, Shmuel's consistent. We treat him like a vadai, even though it's a suffix. Why? Because suffix is permitted to marry a vadai mamzer. Shmuel Amar, a vlad mamzer. So now we have a question. Tati lomali. What does Rav and Shmuel have to repeat their same ruling twice? It's seemingly they're saying the same thing, right? Either the halacha is like Reb Lezer, the halacha is like the Tanakama, right? Tati lomali. No. Each case is needed because you can differentiate. You think, although I'll be machmir in one, I'll be mekel in the other, or vice versa. But why? The itmar beho. Let's say I have a case. She's a single woman who becomes pregnant, and we're not sure who the father was. So let's say Rav would have said that case he's machmir. The beho come a Rav mishum drov ksherim etzlo. We're speaking about Avol Hosam, the Rov Psulam Etzlo, Ema Model Lishmur. I'd say, Aponi Avola, if a woman's single, I say, you know why that child is not permitted to a mamzer? You know why? Because the Rov on the Torah level do not produce mamzer, correct? She's a single woman. So even if a goy impregnated her, an Eved impregnated her, the vast majority don't produce mamzer. That's the reason why Rav rules the child is not permitted to marry a mamzer, because it's less than a suffix. No. If Rov would rule there, the child would be a kosher Jew. No, that's exactly why. But I don't even need Rov to rule. I don't need Rov to rule. Because the vast majority is, it's not even a question. It is a suffix. It is a suffix. But I'd say why we machmir there. We're talking about on a rabbinic level. We're machmir. Why are we machmir? Because since the vast majority of people do not produce illegitimacy, that's the reason why you don't want this child to marry a mamzer. Because it's so remote that it's a mamzer, we don't want that kind of intermingling. But let's say the woman's is a arusa. The vast majority, if they have relations, produce mamzer. So therefore, how is it going to be viewed? A mamzer marrying a mamzeris. That's how it's going to be seen. So therefore, there's no basis for a chumrah over there. Instead, there's no basis to be machmir there. So I'd say Rav would concur with Shmuel in the case of the arusa. Even though it's a suffix, but it's suffix, it's almost bordering on a vadai. So therefore, Shmuel says no. Even that case, Rav says, even that case we don't permit. That's the degree, to what degree is machmir. Arusa. Even that case, where the likelihood that probably it is a mamzer. But since there's an element of suffix, still we don't allow it. So Rav has to give another psak. The first psak is not sufficient. Yes, so the question is to say the second, you don't have to say the first. It's a kolshkein. So the Gemara said no, because you'll be able to differentiate. V'yit mebahach, and if you would only say the case of the arusa, v'okam arav mishum di'iko lemitla borus. Now, it's factually. What's the likelihood of a woman doing the wrong thing? An arusa. She probably was impregnated by her husband. A woman who's a penuya, she doesn't have relations with anyone. Anyone, period. So she had relations, he'd say, you know something, there are illegitimate people out there. Right? So you say, that's why I'm machmir. But over here, it's almost certain. Who was she? She's an observant woman. Who is she impregnated with? Probably her husband. People don't normally do it, so this is the exception. It happened. So I'd say there, that's the reason why the child is probably a legitimate child. That's why I'm machmir. But in the other situation, where she's open to everybody, once she's open to everybody, there's a greater likelihood, it's greater than the orus, that it was what? It could have been a mamzer, it could have been a father, it could have been a brother. Of course, it's something which is not done. Right? Because she's single, even though you have a robe. But it doesn't have the same certainty as the arusa regarding her husband. They ever say no. Nevertheless, still also. Even the arusa, the child, we don't allow to marry a mamzer.
Both cases still have the subject of whether that child could be a...
It's all on a rabbinical level. We're talking about to what degree, why we're treating one situation differently than the other. Right? Let's see the orus, the case of the orus. You'd say there she's not pregnant, because the likelihood is probably a kosher child. It's kosher. Right. That's the reason why I'm not allowing it. Right? And that makes sense. Right. But where she's single, where it could be anybody, so there it's more, there you need rov to rule. See, by the arusi, it's better than rov. It's a presumption. Right. The presumption is it probably was the husband.
The married woman's going to have relations
yeah, even though normally an arusa doesn't. Right. But still, if it's a question of that, she probably did. But if a woman...
Single woman.
That's right. But a penuya, she does not relate with anybody. Right. That means once the door is open, so who knows who ended up with her. Therefore, there's more reason to what? To be makel over there. That it's a suffix. So maybe I would permit it to a mamzer. Rav says no. Even that case is not permitted. Therefore, Rav has to rule in each one of the cases that the child of the arusa is not permitted to a mamzer, right? And the child of a penuya is also not permitted to a mamzer. No, you hear both. No, I understand, but each one has a certain element, and that element is a reason to make a to me machmir. Either way, it's a mute. Either way, it's a mute. Yeah, but in Arusa, the question is, in Arusa, there are two ways to see everything. Arusa never has relations with her husband until chuppah. So evidently, she had relations which is out of the ordinary. Once it's out of the ordinary, who's that? Was it the husband or was it someone else? Not unlikely. It could equally be anybody else. Once it's equally anybody else, then I got a problem. Not unlikely, the husband. The husband is no worse than anybody else. She did something which is unacceptable. The husband's unacceptable, other people. So then we have to get into the extremes of that. Right? It's the extremes of that. So maybe I'd say, once she did something which is unacceptable, we don't make differentiation. That's why I'm machmir. Therefore, I need both cases. I need Rav to rule on both cases. Ibo seimo. Lo'olam lo seikoch. I'll tell you, I don't invert it. So how do I reconcile both Psokim and Rav? Rav ruled in one situation that it's mutter to a mamzer, and the other case he ruled it's not. Right? Arusa Sheba Rav says she's permitted to a mamzer. Umay mamzer, the komar. You have this? It's permitted, umay mamzer, it says. What did Rav say? Rav didn't say that the mamzer, she's permitted to a mamzer. It says, Arusha Ibra Rabam Havalad mamzer. What does mamzer mean? So we understood until mamzer meant it's a mamzer. Therefore, he could marry a mamzeris. So Gemara says, no, that's not what it means. To marry a mamzeres, definitely it's not permitted. Why? Because we were like Reb Lezer. It's a suffix. My mamzer come a Rav, lab mut be mamzeres, elo d'osa bas Yisrael. Yeah, the other way. It's a chumrah. We treat, even though it's a suffix, we treat the suffix like a mamzer. So since we treat the suffix like a mamzer, therefore he cannot marry a Jewish woman. You understand? The other way. I see you guys are you following? No. Again, we wonder what Rav is ruling. We have a Steven Rav. Rav says, and a Rus becomes pregnant. It seems to be he's saying, even though it's a suffix, can marry a mamzer. We class him as mamzer. Doesn't mean mamzer to marry mamzeres. It means a mamzer l'chumra that can't marry a bas Yisrael. Right, exactly. Chumra both ways. Suffix not to marry a mamzer, suffix not to marry a bas, even though on a Torah level. Therefore, it's no contradiction now. It's no contradiction. Ushmul Amar, Havlat Shtuki. Rav says that child's a Shtuki, the Asa Bas Yisrael. Now we have a problem. What does Shtuki mean? Shtuki means when the mother silences the child, because Malos B'Yuchsin, we don't allow that child to marry a kosher Jew. So if that's the case, they're both saying the same thing. Rav is saying Avlad Mamza means to marry a regular Jew. Shmuel says Shtuki to marry a regular Jew. So what's the difference between Rav and Shmuel? They're saying the same thing. Mar says Yihochi, Hainu de Rav. No. Again, we're reconciling Rav. When Rav said Mamzer, it doesn't mean to marry Mamzeres. It means L'chumra not to marry a Bas Yisrael. Right? And what does Shmuel say? You know what? The child is Shtuki. What does Shtuki mean? That means we give him a classification. This child cannot marry a regular Bas Yisrael. So what's the difference between Rav and Shmuel? They're using two labels, but both labels have the same consequence. So they're arguing. Well, I don't get it. To go in the other direction, right? We have to, if once Rav says that, he's going in the direction to marry a kosher Jew. So Shmuel's saying, Shtuki, that terminology is only used to marry a kosher Jew. It's an illegitimacy to marry a kosher Jew. So they're both saying the same thing. But they're arguing. One says Mamza, one says Shtuki. But according to your interpretation, there's no argument here. They're both saying the same thing. Neither of them could marry a kosher Jew. So Elamai Shtuki, Shemeshaskana Sobidin Kuna. What he says, no. Yeah. That you don't allow him to marry, if it's a girl, she can't marry a Kohen. Samar says. Pshita hashta b'din Yisrael mashaskin le b'din kuna mi boy. Shtuki is a term that we don't. He's not even permitted to marry a kosher Jew. So there's even a consideration that what she should marry a Kohen. Right? Factually, Shtuki means a person's a Shtuk cannot marry a regular Jew. He says, you know what it means? Not only a regular Jew, even a Kohen. You ever hear such a thing? If you can't marry a regular Jew, could you marry? Is there even a consideration to marry a Kohen? It's an impossible. Elamai Shtuki, Shemeshasno Sim Nichseyoven. Hear this? It has nothing with legitimacy. Which means, what would be if he regarding inheritance? He comes, he claims he's the son of so and so. Wait, maybe there's a consideration. He should heir. So the question is, what is this Pshita? Is it understood? We said, what's covered the raya? The other children are definitely heirs. He's a suffix, he claims. And the robe says he's not that. So is there even a consideration? He should be able to inherit. So I need Shmuel to tell me this. So you close the door in his face, you have no relevance to the estate. Versus Pshita, Mi adina avu amonu. Do we even know who his father is? Lo tzricha de tofas. We're speaking about he seized the property. He seized part of the property, the estate, and he claims, I'm a son. Shmuel says, Shtuki, say, I'm sorry, you got to give it back. You silence him, you have no claim, you have to return whatever you took. Okay, let's talk now. I mean, what's even the consideration? What's the consideration? No. Case in Subas, you have a star, a person has a star, you have tray to tray. Two say the document was paid, the others say it was not paid. So what's the halacha? So Rashi says over there, you leave it in question, and it says, what do? You don't destroy the shtar. You don't destroy the document. See, what's the value of the document? But it says, so Rashi says, why don't you destroy the document? Because in case the one who claimed it wasn't paid should seize property, he retains the property. What he sees is, in terms of the shtar, he has a right to retain it. That's what Rashi says. If you destroy the document, the other person says, there's no basis for you to collect. But if he has the shtar, which creates the question, because he claimed originally the document was never paid, if he seizes it, he keeps it. Because then we say Motzchav Raya on the other side. Yeah. So firstly, you see from Rashi, which is not partial, which is not simple, the way he learns, that normally, if a person seizes property, kodem sheno ladasofik. Right? Let's say there was no question. The person goes, takes property. I have a document saying you owe me money, man says I'm not paying you. I go and seize property. So you say the man who was resistant paying, you say you're doing the wrong thing. You should pay him. The man has a document. So when did he seize the property? Before the question came about. The legitimacy. He had a shtar with a henpik. It was with a certification. The man says, I'm not paying you. Why? I don't want to pay. Finished. Whatever he said. I'm not paying. So he goes. He forcefully takes whatever the value of the debt is. Takes it. Later, the one who was the property was taken from, he goes to court. With witness saying the document was paid. So there, everybody agrees. Since the tfisa was kodem sheno lasofik, the seizure was before the question even arose. We allow him to keep it. What about after the question already existed? After the trade, a person goes seize. Where do you have a right to seize property? We have a question. It was never seen as yours. You were seen as a thief. Because if we say Hamotzchav Raya, you never had a right to take it. So now that you took it, we're going to say now the Hamotzchav Raya is on the other side. We don't say that. That's what others hold. Rashi says doesn't say this. Rashi says by a trey, why don't you destroy the document? Because in case he seizes the property, we'll allow him to retain it until it's clarified. So you see, Rashi holds that even lachsheno ladasofik, if there's a tfisa, you allow the person to keep it, right? Which is a chiddush, and that's really what the Gemara says. You may think over here, even though the Rov says that, right? He's a shtuki, mishaskin so regarding what? If he with a claim for property, so claim for property is poshut, motzchav right, shitofas. Now, when he seized the property, when did he seize the property? Definitely lachsheno ladasofik. This was after the question arose, right? After the question, and it says you take it away from him. So how do I reconcile with Rashi? Rashi says even tfisa lachsheno ladasofik, you allow him to retain it. There, the answer is there's a big difference. There, it's a 50-50. No. Here, there's a rove against him. There's a rove. The rove says that he's not the child of the what's his name. He's not the child of the father here, right? Because she's not Rusa. He's talking about a Rusa over here. It's a 50-50. Two say there's no rove over there. 50-50 ratios, even lachsheno ladasofik, you have a right to still say motzchav right. But if initially you had a rove against you and you were toe-face, there's not even a consideration. Therefore, you take it away from him. Okay?